How's it going, YouTube? SlimYGO here, coming at you with another deck profile from our Friday Remote Duel Locals, hosted by Imperial Gaming, and stream live on my channel, twitch.tv/PriscoYGO. Today, we have SlimYGO, a very special guest. He's going to be showcasing his deck profile that he used to top the Locals this past weekend. So, yeah, man, how's it going?
What's going on, man? It's going good. It's going good. I had a lot of fun. It was actually my first ever remote duel locals. I've been trying to, work out some times to, try to go to them. And my boy Joe was telling me, yeah, he's like, you should line this one up. Since you're on the West Coast, like you'll have 3 hours extra, like basically like it'll be 4 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock your guys' time. So it'll work out better for me. And it's exactly what I did. And yeah, I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, man, and it was an honor to have you. Like, thank you for choosing Imperial to play there, because that means a lot. I'm trying to spread the word and show other YouTubers to come over here, come have some fun. It's all good vibes here. We've got some really good players as well. So yeah, that's awesome, man. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck. What did you play today? Or Friday, I should say.
I played my favorite deck. Like, it's become like basically my signature deck. It's actually pure Mekk-Knights, and I got a thing where I'm like, this is the best rogue deck of 2021. And I stick by that because there's only like about 12 of us in the world that play this deck. And if you actually take the time to learn this deck through and through, it's extremely rewarding because the deck can do things that other decks can't. Its ability to go second is insane. And we've even found ways to make it go first a little more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And then, like, it's just a really fun deck. It proves that you don't actually have to play meta to do well. And this deck is so well positioned and in the hands of the right pilot, like you can do wonders with it, because your opponent will not. A lot of times players don't read cards and they don't fully understand like how Mekk-Knights interact, especially like the extra deck monsters, the spells and traps that the deck plays. And it's not that you punish them for that, but they get into situations where they'll make a play that they'll think works, but it doesn't actually work because of how the Mekk-Knight cards are designed. So the deck actually rewards you for, paying attention.
Yeah.
So
I used to play Mekk-Knights a lot back in the day, and I've got to say I kind of put the deck down for a little bit because Time Thief kind of took over my life. Just saying, Time Thief best deck. Just saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
but I will say that Mekk-Knights have always been one of the better decks that I've seen as far as rogue decks go. And honestly, as soon as I saw your deck, first game that I actually featured on my stream, I lost my mind, and we'll see why in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get into the deck profile, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. One thing I'll say though is that I got inspiration from this. A shout out to my boy Smitty, because he hosted a tournament a couple weeks ago, and the guy that got first place actually got first place with pure Mekk-Knights. And I watched his profile, and I got a lot of like inspiration, like for the reasons why to like make changes to this deck, because we were playing in the old format, but this deck is actually built for new format minus the side deck. So this deck is like completely viable in the new format because not a single card got touched.
Awesome. Yeah, big shout out to ATG Smitty Plays. He's one of the homies. He's actually a regular in my chat, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so for the monsters, for the Mekk-Knights, it's triple Girsu. So this is your main normal summon. We do have a second normal summon. We actually have multiple normal summons, but there's only 2 real normal summons in the deck, and this is obviously the best one. It is an Orcus card, but people forget it's a Mekk-Knight card. The card is absolutely insane for the deck. It sends a World Legacy card to the graveyard as effect number 1. People usually ash that, and that's usually fine because it doesn't take away its second ability, which is a token generation that spawns a token to my side and to the opponent's side, and I choose where I want the tokens.
Yep.
So a lot of times the problem with this deck is you need to create a column. Mekk-Knights need cards and columns to play, and Girsu is literally a 1-card column. And a lot of times you really want them to ash it. Like, I can't say how many times when people ash me sending Chalice, which is my target, I'm overjoyed because I'm like, okay, I ate a hand trap for nothing. And now I'm literally going to put a token to your side, put a token to my side, make a link monster. I have columns and I can play my deck the way I want to play it. So this card coming out made the deck insane. It just was the best normal summon compared to like the normal summons we were forced to play before. So
I agree 100%.
Yeah, and then the actual Mekk-Knights, we got triple purple. I always call this the new school wind-up rabbit. For anyone who doesn't really know how the Mekk-Knights work, so this is like one of the best ones. You target itself or another Mekk-Knight, you banish it until your next standby phase, and then you can search a Mekk-Knight monster. 2,500 attack, so it's big. It gets past a lot of things, especially the Samorg Link, which is a real problem because you guys will see there's not really any wind monsters in the deck. Mekk-Knights are all light. Girsu is dark, so literally you can hard lose to the barrier statue if you don't, draw an out or you don't play correctly. But this card actually returns, or the other Mekk-Knight returns during the standby phase, and that is not counted as a summon. So when it returns, it fully returns and can attack over the Simorg and get around the barrier statue. So that's another reason I chose to play this deck, is I felt it had like a good bird up matchup. And I actually played 2 bird ups, round 1 and round 2. So I actually got to test and see like how good this deck would do against what I think is one of the best decks of the format post ban list.
Yeah, I actually somewhat agree with that.
Yeah, and then his partner in crime is blue. This card is just stupid if things get out of control. Like a lot of times you'll search 2 cards. So all Mekk-Knights need cards in columns. You search up to the number of cards in your opponent's column for Mekk-Knight monsters. So a lot of times I'll be searching 1 if I just use the Girsu play. But sometimes if I put the token behind the extra monster zone, I'll get a search 2. Sometimes I've gotten a search 3, but at that point it's so blown out of proportion. It's very hard to lose if you get a search 3. It doesn't happen that often. But blue is insane because searching your extra names is great. And you don't mind linking away this one because you can always bring it back if need be. So usually the order of operations is get to purple, purple goes to blue, and then things just spiral out of control if blue resolves for searching 1 or 2 or even more Mekk-Knights. So it's just really, really strong.
Okay, makes a lot of sense.
And then this actually is a mistake. So there are 2 Indigo, and I've always been a huge advocate of 2 Indigo, but based on the profile that I did watch, the one that got first place, he opted to play 1 Indigo Eclipse, and I fully understand why. Why I think this card is broken, there's always a meme going around because all this card does is move. Like he moves Mekk-Knights to other zones, and that does come up a lot. But I was supposed to actually play a card called Santa Claus. I just don't actually own one yet. It's a really old card. It's actually a searchable kaiju. And you'll see one of the normal summons I'm playing in this deck to make it a searchable kaiju. But since I didn't have access to it, I decided to just play the second Indigo Eclipse. I mean, I think 2 Indigo Eclipse is fine. But I think in the newer version of the deck, we're playing just 1 because by itself, it really doesn't do anything. It is a name, but it doesn't do anything until like you're kind of into your combo, into your grind game, like where you set up multiple negates with Indigo and other Mekk-Knights. But yeah, no, if people are just picking up the deck, this has always been like the standard, like 3 purple, 3 blue, and 2 Indigo. But I think the cards are just all really good, and Indigo is just very strong. Like while its effect seems very weird, moving cards in columns is very important because of their effects for the other Mekk-Knights. So it's probably like I think after purple and blue, it's probably the next best one.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but is Indigo Eclipse a hard once per turn?
No, it's not. It's per copy. So a lot of times you'll win a lot of games. Like if you revive multiple, and you can by itself, this can be 4 negates based on the cards you play. And it's like if they play a card in the other column, you just move it. You're just moving constantly. It's a weird mechanic, but then you're just negating everything. If it's monster effects, spells, or traps, like you can just do everything with the Mekk-Knights. That's why this card is so good at 2. But for testing wise, I only played the second one because I didn't have access to the Santa Claus. But I might find a way to squeeze it in, honestly, because it is probably my favorite Mekk-Knight. Just because even though it is a meme, like it shouldn't be underrated. Like what it does in the grind game once you've already set everything up is actually just so rewarding, and it's free. Like you literally don't lose any card advantage off it. So I think it's a great card.
Yeah, I agree. That's why when you said that it was a mistake, I had to question it myself in my head, and I'm just like, I always thought that it was a 2, but now your explanation kind of cleared all that up for me.
Yeah, but like I said, if I can find a way to play 2, I'll definitely I'm gonna probably just keep modding the deck till I get it to where I want. But
that's fair.
Yeah, no, they're all just very, very good. And then the one-ofs are red, yellow, and then orange. So I always
actually
laugh at
plays orange. Holy!
I laugh at orange just because the reason behind it is actually quite silly. But the more you play with the deck, the more you'll learn. Like a lot of people know me, like because I love Mekk-Knights. I say it in every video, every top 5, I always say at the end, pure Mekk-Knight, best rogue deck 2021. And it's just funny because this deck, like, I just feel like it gets better every format because people still don't pay attention to it. But the beauty of these 2 are this pops face up monsters, this pops back row face up or face down in the same column, and they're not once per turn. So you use them in tandem with Indigo Eclipse to pop multiple cards, which is just insane, honestly. Like against back row decks, you can do this, which is great. Like,
yep.
And they're actually like quite big as well, like 2,800 defense, 2,600 defense. Like if you see how I play, a lot of times I'll put my monsters in defense, like not only to play around Lightning Storm, but because their defense is actually so big, a lot of decks struggle. Like if you put up the Simorg link and stuff after I've summoned my Mekk-Knights, like you can't get over these by battle because they're in defense. They're 2,800, 2,600 defense, and Orange has 3,000 defense for some stupid reason. So. Yeah, so Orange's effect is completely irrelevant. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think it has ever come up, but the fact that it is 3,000 defense is kind of cool. But it is also a searchable Mekk-Knight.
Yep.
Which is, you guys will see when I get to the rest of the cards that, yeah, it's a searchable Mekk-Knight, and that helps you start your combo plays like into Morningstar or Live or like whatever. So yeah, all of these are good. I cut green. Green honestly does nothing. It is literally a Cyber Dragon by stats and by like manner. It does nothing. Its effect is cool in the grind game, but I think like you could just dedicate better cards and just not play it. Like I played it for the longest time, never used its effect, barely ever used it in general. It was just a name, and honestly, I sided it out like every game. So I had to eventually cut it. So I'm glad I saw that profile, and I'm glad someone else cut it because I was like, okay, finally, at least I know there's a warrant to actually getting rid of it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
And then I put this with the Mekk-Knights because this is the target that you send off Gearsu. So you can send other cards, but this is like the best one. And it's always been, in my opinion, the best one. And I've had people argue for the other card, which is World Legacy Armor. The reason why this card is so good, though, is, again, this card is searchable off of one of our normal summons, which is something people don't pay attention to. And this is like very good for discard outlets, for Morningstar. It's very good. Its effect is basically in the graveyard. The next turn after it was sent there, you can banish it to search a World Legacy card, so like your spells, your traps, etc. So that can just help you extend more, just lock your opponent out of the game. Like I said, it's searchable, and then it does have another effect that will come up maybe 1 in every 20 games. But if you have it on the board and your opponent summons a monster from the extra deck, you can just spin it back. So you can literally tribute this and spin it back. So I think this card is better than Armor. I think Armor has a great effect though, as it does search. If it's special summoned, like with Succession, it does search another World Legacy card. But I think Chalice is just better in the grind game. Like all the Mekk-Knight players that I've learned from have always agreed that Chalice is the better card. So I think, especially now that we're playing the deck differently, I think this is still the best target for Gearsu. And if you draw it, you just try to get into the graveyard as fast as possible.
Okay.
And then just the Mekk-Knight cards. I just put everything like in section, just like the Mekk-Knight cards are just these for like the spells. So 3 World Legacy Memory, it's an absolute staple. It's a beast of a card. It's a quick play emergency teleport that summons a Mekk-Knight from the graveyard or your hand. A lot of people forget it does summon from hand. So a lot of times you may think you're out of Mekk-Knights if the game has been going really long, but you can actually summon them from your hand. They summon in defense, and after you resolve this card, you're locked into Mekk-Knights, but that's fine. A lot of times you do your combos first, and then you summon this for added pressure. So the standard play is to go, activate memory, summon purple, use purple effect, banish it, search the blue, and then summon blue, and then just keep going. And that's usually what you do. It just becomes more Mekk-Knight names. It's very good since it's quick play. You can set it, and then in tandem with like your Floodgate, your built-in Floodgate cards, you can summon more Mekk-Knights on your opponent's turn. Like I've summoned Indigo Eclipse during my opponent's turn, and then that turned into 2 negates for no reason except the fact that it moves. So that's why I think Indigo is so busted. It turns into multiple negates for no reason.
Makes a lot of sense.
World Legacy Succession is just a monster reborn. You just have to make sure you reborn to where a link arrow points. So in case you're ever having issues, like usually a lot of these monsters, their link arrows are like down into the corner. So there's usually no issues with that. This is usually the card you're getting off Live. And then this card is actually insane. In the last round, I searched this on purpose because I thought that he was going to have a bunch of traps. I didn't expect him to have a bunch of spells. So in hindsight, I probably should have searched the other card. But this negates trap cards. For every Mekk-Knight in the column, it'll negate that same column trap card. So again, you have this. They activate a trap in the column where Indigo is. Cool. They go activate another column. You chain Indigo, move to that column, and that card's negated as well. So this card is insane. Plus, it also can add back a banished Mekk-Knight. So a lot of times you'll go memory, summon purple, banish itself, search another Mekk-Knight, activate key, add back the purple, and then you can still special the purple because you didn't special it through its special summoning effect as a Mekk-Knight. So the games can get really out of control, like how many monsters you can put on the board. So yeah, I think this card is an absolute staple in the deck, especially with all the back row decks that we expect to see. It just stops every trap card in the same column. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So just the 1-ofs, and then 2 of the trap. This card is obscene. Like I think we're going up to 3, I think, in the new build, but this was still old format. And I have a huge thing with this deck. This deck will never, ever, ever be over 40, ever, because you need to see Gearsu, you need to see your normal summons. Like this deck needs to go. Like you can't afford to play extra cards. So whatever I can do to get it to 40, I will. This is literally your Call the Haunted / Skill Drain. This card literally will negate monster effects that activate in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster. So again, this in tandem with with Indigo Eclipse is obscene. You revive it back with this because it summons a level 5 or higher, and then you negate a monster effect in one column. They go to activate another. You move it to another column, and there you go, 2 negates. If you get 2 Indigos, you have 4 negates. So that's what I was talking about earlier. How 2 Indigos can actually become 4 negates for no reason except the fact that it moves. So this is probably the best, like one of the best cards probably in the whole deck, because it just stops activated monster effects. Now, granted, it doesn't stop lingering effects or effects that just don't activate that are just built into the condition of the monster. But a lot of times that doesn't matter. It's better to just have this to stop monster effects. Like I use this against Joe, like to stop his Tri-Brigade monsters on board, and that was just really impactful. So yeah, this card is very, very strong. It's easily going to be a 3 of going forward. And then the all-star of the show, I know you're waiting for it, our other normal summon.
There we go.
In 2021, we're playing triple Sangan. So I know people are probably like, why? Okay, so Sangan is very, very important in this deck, and I never thought I would say this in my life. But you normal summon Sangan if you don't have Gearsu. It's your other normal summon. You turn it into All Mirage. You then use Sangan's effect, and you can actually search your orange. You can then special summon orange to the column if you have another card, and then your All Mirage plus your Sunset, your orange, becomes a Morningstar or a Lib, and you basically get to combo just off of like the normal summon Sangan. And since you can search Santa Claus, which is a card obviously I'll be adding to the deck, no one ever negates Sangan, because why the hell would you negate Sangan in 2021? So a lot of times you get a searchable out to Dragoon, because Santa Claus doesn't even activate. You literally can special summon it by tributing one of your opponent's monsters. So if they have a Dragoon on board, you literally just tribute it, give them the Santa Claus, and it was all searchable off Sangan, because its stats are 1200. So. And then this card can search hand traps, so it's actually really, really good in this deck. So
Sangan 2021. What a meme! You love to see it.
Absolutely. I wish I saw it more. Like I even said after the tournament was over, I drew very subpar. Like for my standards of the deck, I didn't really wombo combo that much. Like I normal summoned the Sangan, I searched the Orange Sunset, and then I made a Morningstar, but I had no good cards to discard, so I just made a Morningstar. But I guess in the long run, it still was good because it still put Morningstar on the board.
Oh yeah.
So.
I remember I was streaming and I saw that happen, and as soon as you said normal summon Sangan, I was like, what? I started screaming. I was yelling. I'm just like, this man, this brave man, holy hell. And then you linked it off, and then you did your thing. You went into Morningstar, and I was just like, yo, Mekk-Knights with Sangan? What?
Man.
Oh man, it was great.
Yeah, so that's what. Yeah, I owe this though 100% to the player that won that tournament though, because I saw that in his deck. I watched the deck profile on Smitty's channel, and I heard his reasoning for it. And then I always listen to other players that play this deck that they add something to it, and his knowledge behind this deck was fantastic. And it was because of that I was like, okay, this card makes a lot of sense, and it's gonna throw a lot of people off, and we need more normal summons. So
I agree.
Yeah, Sangan is actually the perfect card. It's actually insane. It's way better than it is in Altergeist. Like people hated it in Altergeist. It's fantastic in Mekk-Knights though. So.
I'm actually surprised I didn't see the Lib or the Ib, the other normal summon for Mekk-Knights, that when you link it off for Almirage, it goes to your opponent's field and it keeps them from special summoning other than link monsters. I saw that was a tech for a long time, and I haven't seen it in forever.
It's basically the budget option of Gearsu, because it kind of in a way does the same thing, because it'll create a column to your opponent's side. But Gearsu is just so much more versatile, and it's searchable, in your combo. Yeah, it is the budget option. So I suggest anyone out there that doesn't want to pay money or shell it out for Gearsus, play Sangan and play what's the game?
Ibli? Yeah, one of those.
Ibli, yeah. You can play that and you'll still be fine. It'll still do the same exact thing. So that card's good too. It's just not a Mekk-Knight. So
that's fair.
And then because of Bird Up and Dragoon and everything, we had to main deck this, and this is going to be a staple going forward. I used to only play 2, but now I play 3, because the barrier statue, like if you noticed all my monsters, not a single one is wind. This is the only wind monster in my main deck, so I really want to draw this. And just try to kick it. And the beauty of kaijus is that you tribute a monster, you decide where you place it. So I'm creating my column just by drawing this card. So this card can out anything, and it's fantastic. I mean, it was weird because again, I didn't draw that great, but I literally summoned this, and then I summoned my own copy, because people don't read kaijus again, that you can summon one if your opponent controls a kaiju as well. So that came up. So 2,700 seems like a lot. I wish I could play Gamma Seal if only it was a wind. But the way this deck plays, the extra deck monsters will take care of this every time. So this is just a necessary evil.
I was gonna say, fun fact, that card has recently been bought out to $10. So if you're planning on buying those, you should probably pick them up soon. Just saying. If I had a TCG player link, I would tell you to use it down in the description below. But I don't have one yet, so
I have one. So if you guys do, if you guys are purchasing cards, please use my TCG player link down in the description below. As a portion of what you spend will go back to the channel. It'll help me out, and I really do appreciate it. Shameless plug, but
shameless plug. It's okay. I'll grab your link and I'll put it in the description for you. No worries, man.
Yeah, no, this card's gonna get a holo reprint soon. I guarantee it. It's gonna come in like one of the OTS packs, and then it's gonna go through the roof. So.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so the kaiju, I count that as a hand trap. Like that's just how I play. I look at a kaiju as a hand trap because it eats a card. Any card that eats a card, in my opinion, is basically a hand trap. So, so that card is just fantastic in this deck. And then just the hand trap. So this was the best hand trap in my main deck, and I think it's staying in my main deck. I didn't understand
I actually
at first
agree with this one a lot.
Why this was in the man's main deck. I was waiting for the profile for him to get to the main deck to explain that, and when he explained it, I was like, you know what, this man's a genius. If this card was searchable off Sangan, I think this deck would just be bonkers, like even more than it already is. It isn't searchable. However, this card is insane against Bird Up. It's very good against Virtual World still. It's very good against dinosaurs. It's good, semi-good against Dragon Link. I don't think it's the best card against Dragon Link, but anything to slow them down from like banishing them to summon their babies and extend is fine. I honestly think almost every main deck is going to have this in some shape or form. If it's not in your side deck, it's got to be in your main deck. And this was absolutely just insane. I didn't realize how good it was against Bird Up. So fun fact, my first real game against Bird Up was when I played Joe. I've only played against it online and not in person. So now that I've played it in person, I know how good this card is. I think this is going to be like a staple going forward.
I agree.
This card's fantastic.
Yeah, I recently picked up another playset of Lancia because it's too good. It's way too good.
Exactly. It's really, really strong. I think everyone should have it. And then this needs no explanation. It's just the most standard hand trap ever. Fun fact, you can normal this if you have nothing else and turn it into All Mirage and try to combo from there. So basically you do have an additional normal summon, but if you're summoning this, your hand is really, really bad. But, I mean, you got to have every option. And then probably the All-Star, and I remember you were asking me about this. This card is actually so good again after all this time. Like, it was horrible last format, and now it's just, with Calamities gone, like, luckily I didn't play against any Calamities decks, but this card was actually crazy because it's so good in this deck because it's a card that can actually create a column, and that's something these other hand traps can't do. This can just take away so many options. Like, it can stop the Tri-Brigade monsters. They banish for cost. You imperm them. They just kind of pass. It's so good against just anything. Like, I think this card is fantastic. Like, this will also eat and negate against Dragon Link. So I think Imperm is going to definitely come back into the format. It's just very, very good. It's very strong. It's had so many reprints. I'm sure people will have access to them, but it's just, I think it's one of the best hand traps again going forward. I mean, obviously, you know, our format is just starting. Like, we're going to have the luxury results by the end of today, and we'll see if people did choose to play Imperm, but I think we'll definitely see more people experimenting with it. Like, since you don't have to play like so many stoppers or so many odd cards to try to play around Calamities, I think this card is just very, very good in the format again. So yeah, it's definitely something I would play, and I think it's very good in this deck because again, it creates a column where other hand traps just don't do that for you.
Agreed. I will say the gold rares for Imperms they're like $18 right now. They're probably going to start going back up because Imperm is known to do that. So once again, you should probably be picking them up now if you don't already have them.
Absolutely. And then 3 of the best pot card ever printed for this deck. I don't know what else to say. This is, when I saw this card announced, I was even testing with this card like months prior, and I was just like, my gosh, this card is just everything for this deck. Dig 3, dig 6. After you've done your entire combo, nothing in your deck draws cards, so you're never going to be halted by this. And if you're forced to go first, then you can combo and then activate this and like search a hand trap or search another floodgate, like the secrets or something you weren't able to search or get to. Like, this card just does wonders for you. Like, I know you can play extra if you want, then you just change the extra deck, like if you're on a budget, but if you can pick these up, this is the deck to play them in for sure. Like, it's not even close. Like, this deck got a million times better just because of this card being printed. It just helps your consistency and helps you see what's missing in your combo, which can be one of your 6 normal summons. As weird as that sounds, sometimes you just want to dig for that normal summon to start your columns, and it can get you there. So
you know what's really funny is I've been saying that about this card since release. And I've been playing it in Time Thief, and people are just like, oh, I don't want to dish out the money for it. It doesn't seem that good. And then I get 3rd place with Time Thief, and I'm just like, yeah, this was the MVP.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, the card is fantastic in a lot of decks. And again, I suggest people pick it up if they can. But,
100%.
That's it for the main deck. 40 cards. It'll never go over 40.
Agreed.
If I can help it. Yeah, because you just need to see everything. So there'll be a couple changes, obviously, with our list going into effect tomorrow. But other than that, it should be fine. And extra deck. So this is where things got different for me. So I've always played 3 Morningstar, but again, I went off of, the kind of the skeleton that I saw, and I can see why we cut this to 2. So this card is the #1 card in Yu-Gi-Oh! People don't read. I can guarantee it. They don't read it. It's up there with cards like Golden Castle of Strongberg. So this card, all people know this for is it's a Mekk-Knight. You discard a World Legacy or Mekk-Knight card to search a World Legacy spell or trap from your deck, which is fantastic. And they don't read the other effect. It says Mekk-Knight monsters that are attacked in other columns cannot be destroyed. So if I have this in my extra monster zone and you try to attack it from any other zone, I take no battle damage and it's not destroyed. And that's not just itself, it's all my other Mekk-Knights. So I've had people try to break my board and aren't able to actually break my board because of that. They can't break the board because of the Morningstar. But again, people don't read it. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with 2 actually, because a lot of times I only make 1. If I make a second one, it's in the grind game. So a lot of times if I've already made 1 and then I'm prosperating, I usually get rid of the other one because I know I'm not going to summon it. So
yeah, I have when I used to play Mekk-Knights, I actually had this thing where I would say, so I used to play 2 back in the day, and people used to think I was crazy. But then I would always tell them, like, listen, if you find yourself making the 3rd one, you've probably already lost.
Exactly.
And people would be like, no, that's entirely incorrect. And I'm just like, I'm looking at you playing 2, and I'm just like, yeah,
no, you are definitely correct in that sense. The only times I've ever summoned 3rd is in crazy grind game, or if I had nothing else, because I used to play the extract build. So a lot of times, that was another reason I played the extract build before prosperity came out. So you had to play 3, because if you banished them both, I mean, it just sucks. Your whole combos change at that point.
Oh yeah.
And then this is the best card ever printed for this deck, and it's a generic Link 2 that I will never understand why this is a generic Link 2. This card is the best card in the extra deck, and it's not even close.
Literally searches Monster Reborn. It's wild.
Yeah, it'll search Monster Reborn. It can search your trap negates. Like, you'll have these weird plays where I've drawn Succession a lot, and I'll search the World Legacy key, and I'll have a Mekk-Knight already in a column lined up with a card that's set, and I'll, of course, assume it's a trap. Activate key. Get a banished monster back. They try to activate the trap, and I tell them it's negated, and they're like, why? I'm like, that's key's effect, and I already had a Mekk-Knight monster here. You didn't negate key, so key negates your trap. So it's actually crazy. And then this card has other effect when it's linked off, has a non-targeting shuffle back to deck effect, which outs Dragoon every time. All you have to do is bait Dragoon and then literally spin it back with Lib, and it's fantastic. Like, this in tandem with another card I play in the extra deck, you're spinning 2 cards, and they've just lost so much advantage at that point. So I think this is easily the best card in the extra deck. Like, this card is insane. And then I already mentioned this a million times, but yeah, I'll never banish this off Prosperity unless I've already summoned Girsu. So this is just in here for the Sangan, for the hand traps, just to get your columns going. And then everyone was asking, why do you play Secure Guard now? The reason why you play Secure Guard, and I didn't know this either, so I learned this by watching that deck profile. So in order to summon Secure Guard, you can summon it by tributing a Cybers monster. Like, you can stack it over, you can link off a Cybers monster to summon it. So Lib is a Cybers monster. So you can go Lib, do effect, do your thing, do this off into Secure Guard, and then get Lib's effect.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I know. Shit. I didn't either. I was like, that's so insane. Like, if you bait Dragoon, say you bait Dragoon with a card, say you go World Legacy Memory and they negate it, or just any card in general, and then you go summon Sangan, go into All Mirage, then or like whatever, and you get to Lib, and then at that point you just go into your Secure Guard, and literally they can't do anything, because you literally outed the Dragoon just by making a Secure Guard, and this can actually save you in time too. Like, you don't take damage, so card's pretty good. And then IP, I didn't get to summon it, but it's there because it's a generic Link 2. You can make it, and sometimes you can just link it to stuff your opponent can't deal with. So card's good. I just didn't make it. Same thing with Galatea. I mean, Orcus, Girsu is an Orcus monster, so a lot of times if you can bait the Dragoon and then you can link the Girsu and a monster into this, you can then slap Ding on top of it, and then there you go. You outed the Dragoons. I mean, we're all about outing Dragoon, because Dragoon did not get hit this format, and Dragoon is a problem. So
Dragoon is the problem card of the format. I will say that.
Easily. So anything to mitigate that, I'm all for it. So it's really good. And then Spectrum Supreme, summon it this much. I mean, not that much, but it's got some cool effects. It can attack directly if it's the only card in the column. If it's not pointing to any other monsters, it's like a towers. But I think my favorite effect is you can shoot a card in the same column as this, so the back row column, or like wherever, if you have one here, depending on where the arrow points, and you can then summon a Mekk-Knight from your deck. So a lot of times you can just keep extending, and you don't have to use this for the direct attack. Like, the direct attack only comes up in time, so, or if you're trying to close out a game, so It's good. I would still play it though. Like I don't think it comes up that much, but it is good in certain matchups. So
Yeah, I actually didn't play it in any of my lists back in the day.
yeah,
And cause I just didn't find a need to. But,
yeah. The games
um,
get so far ahead that sometimes this doesn't come up. But I like to have it there just for versatility, since my extra deck is a little more free now because of prosperity, and I can pick what I banish.
Yeah, and I will say that there were games even back then where I was just like, I really wish I had that right now. And
Yeah.
then there was other games where I'm just like, yeah, if I would have tried to make that, it would have been useless. So it was hit or miss with that one, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And then this is insane with lib. This is what I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
You make lib, you get a monster, you go lib, you go this, you go unicorn chain link 1, you go lib chain link 2, and you spin 2 cards.
Yep.
That's usually your kill shot. Like you're trying to go for your kill shot at that point because basically you've spun 2 cards off the board, and you're just really trying to go for the OTK at that point. So the card's really good. I would still play it. Like I saw some lists cut it, but I really like its interaction with lib. I think that's too valuable to pass up in a deck like this.
Yeah, I don't see myself ever building a deck without that in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I can have some flexible spots with links, then I literally just go IP and unicorn.
Absolutely, yeah. That option comes up as well since we have IP, so it's good. And then this is still one of my favorite link monsters ever. However,
yes.
I don't know if this will stay in here. I got to do more testing. It just didn't come up, but it is just a very strong card in certain matchups if the opponent doesn't know how to out it. It's very good against decks like Altergeist and just back row decks that can't really deal with it, especially if you buff it to 45. It's very good in the Eldritch matchup because then at that point, the fear of you banishing their Golden Lord or it being at 45. So even when they shoot back the Golden Lord from the grave, it's only 35. So this card can actually be very, very good in certain matchups. I think I just need to test with it more to see if it'll come up, but it is very strong. So
Makes sense.
I'll probably keep it in there for now. And then this is like the MVP with IP if you can set it up. But a lot of times when you go first, this is the play you're going for. You're going for like a lib and a morning star, and then you link those two into Crusadia Abramax, and then it's very hard for them to out. It's also a Mekk-Knight, so even when you're under memories, like sometimes you'll make lib, you'll do your combo, you'll get morning star, and then you'll memories to get more monsters. You can still make this because it is a Mekk-Knight, so that restriction does not apply to a card like this, and this card is just the best going first card I think for this deck. Like when I go first, I prioritize trying to make this because I know how good it is. Just across the format, a lot of players struggle to out it, so it's really good. And then if they do out it, a lot of times if it goes to the grave or like whatever, you can spin a card, so that does come up as well. It can be an out to Dragoon.
Okay. Yeah,
and then
I do like that a lot.
Yeah, kill shot. I made it. I got Nibiru. I didn't play around Nibiru, but I mean, a lot of times you just make this and then you just try to kill the opponent with it. You just go from a lot of times if you do live into Unicorn, spin 2 cards, then you go one more monster into Access Code Talker, buff it up to 43, 53, depending on what you decide. And then you might be able to pop some cards, but a lot of times you just have this and like one or two Mekk-Knights in its game. So I like this better than Boral Sword. I think it's just easier to make. So that's why I have it in there. And then just Dingirsu for the Galatea, and then you can make this with indigo and purple in a weird situation, but it does come up.
Yeah.
And then side deck is kind of these 6 cards never got sided in because I thought there was gonna be Drytron. There was no Drytron, so these cards are probably coming out of my side deck. Although this is very good against Invoke decks. For people that don't know, I'm a huge advocate of Invoke. So Droll just stops their whole turn if they're playing a deck like that, because if they go Terraforming or they go Alistair Search, you just activate this. None of their Dogmatica cards are going anywhere, so.
Very true.
It's fine, but this was just for Drytron. I just didn't face any, so that didn't come up. And then, so being a blind second deck, we wait for when they want us to go first, so we side in the Sanctum and the Scythe. This is just against like anything that plays in the extra deck, so like obviously Virtual World, obviously Bird Up, any deck like that. Like if they do make us go first, like you just side this in and you hope to see it. And the beauty of this is you can abuse this as well as Lancia with secrets since they're level 5 or higher and revive them, and then they get their effects because they were special summoned. So you can sometimes scythe your opponent back-to-back turns and then they'll lose right there. So.
Oh wow. I never thought about that. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why this is one of the few decks that can get a lot of mileage with the artifact package. Even though to a lot of players they think it's outdated, it's still very strong in this deck because you play a Call of the Haunted that basically it becomes another Sanctum for you.
Yeah, true. Awesome.
So that's pretty good. And then the rest is just back row hate because honestly, back row decks can be a problem. I believe Mekk-Knights are very good against back row decks because they can eat through back rows, but no deck can eat through Solemns. So a lot of times you just try to Lightning Storm everything away or try to Harpy's dust or everything away, or at least this can hit the front row too. Because if they have back row, that's fine because I can still make columns. So it's kind of just pick your poison depending on the matchup. So I still think these are the best cards. I want a blowout card, like even over Cosmic Cyclone. I think Cosmic is great, but for this deck, I need gas. Like I need to be able to just blow out their back row and then just summon Mekk-Knights and just go for games. So
Very true.
yeah, so that's just standard. And then the last card is the card I probably should have searched in the last round. I was thinking I was going to see him set a bunch of back row. It just didn't happen. But World Legacy Whispers. This is the Spell Negator.
Yeah.
It has a weird effect that did come up during one of the rounds. It does give a monster 1,000 attack and defense boost, and then it will negate spells. Same thing as the trap. Same thing as the trap negator, equal to the number of Mekk-Knights in the same column. So this card is very good, and it gives the 1,000 boost. So sometimes it can help you win a game with the 1,000 boost, or help you get over a monster with the 1,000 boost. So I like it better in the side deck though, because a lot of times going second, this just isn't that good. If it was a spell card, I think it would be an absolute staple. But since it's a trap, it's a little too slow. But
that's fair. That's totally totally understandable.
Yeah, but no, that's everything. That's pure Mekk-Knights. I guess for the last local for me of the old format. So like some of the stuff in the side will change. Like I said, the side's kind of but.
Awesome.
The rest of the deck was very solid, and it's like my favorite deck. So I like playing it, and people like that I play it. So that's always a plus.
Okay. Well, any last minute shout outs before we go ahead and wrap up?
Just shout out to you. Make sure you guys subscribe, follow the Twitch, all that stuff, and shout out to what you guys are doing. Been looking, like I said, for remote dual locals, so super happy I could find one, and just finding one with just a really good company. Like shout out to all you guys. Like I know I'm from the West Coast, so I know I'm from totally different area, but you guys are just really cool, and you really make me feel at home. Just playing. Shout out to all my opponents. Just had some really great games with all of you, like really grindy games, just a lot of back and forth crazy stuff. But yeah, I think it's just a really good testing ground, and then being able to just play remote dual locals is just a privilege. So I'm just super happy for it, and yeah, appreciate you guys for all that.
Oh, well, thank you again, man, for playing. And
yeah, no problem. I'll definitely be back.
Oh yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to it. All right, well, YouTube, that's going to be it for today's deck profile. If you want to see more, make sure you check out the live streams. Again, twitch.tv/PriscoYGO. Make sure you subscribe, give a thumbs up if you like the video and you feel like I deserve it. And if you want to let me know your thoughts down in the comments section, I would greatly appreciate it. SlimYGO's link will be down in the description below. And make sure you check out his TCG player link as well if you plan on buying some stuff. It does help support him, a fellow Yugi tuber, and it was a pleasure working with you today. So yeah,
absolutely.
This is gonna be PriscoYGO signing off. Have a great day. Stay hydrated. I love you all. Deuces.